Good morning, Namaskaram. Welcome to Day 12 Clep 2 webinar series from SCRT Andhra Pradesh, streaming on live, interactive live session on Facebook as well as YouTube. సో మీ అందరికీ కూడా ఈరోజు ప్రోగ్రామ్కి స్వాగతం, మీకు సుస్వాగతం. మరి ఈ డే 12లో చూసినట్టయితే మనతో పాటు ఉన్నారు. ఐ హ్యావ్ డాక్టర్ పూర్ణిమ రవి. వెల్కమ్ మేడం, వెల్కమ్ టు డే 12 సెషన్. వి హ్యావ్ పోకూరి శ్రీనివాస్ గారు. సార్ నమస్తే, మీకు స్వాగతం ఈరోజు సెషన్కి. ఈరోజు టాపిక్ చూసినట్టయితే రియల్లీ నీడ్ ఆఫ్ ది డే యాజ్ వెల్ యాజ్ డిమాండ్ ఫ్రమ్ ద టీచర్స్. ఆ టాపిక్ ఏంటంటే ఫోనిక్స్ ఫర్ ప్రైమరీ లెర్నర్స్. రియల్లీ చాలా చాలా యూస్ఫుల్ టాపిక్ ఈరోజు మనం నేర్చుకోబోతున్నాం. సో ఈ సందర్భంగా ఐ రిక్వెస్ట్ పోకూరి శ్రీనివాస్ గారు అగైన్ సో ఫార్మల్గా ఒకసారి మేడం గారిని ఇంట్రొడ్యూస్ చేయండి.
Yeah, thank you, Ismail. Good morning, Andhra Pradesh. Today we have a wonderful topic and a wonderful resource person here. So Dr. R. Poornima, an academic consultant and teacher trainer from Chennai. I want to tell the competencies of ma'am, planning and designing experiential ESL learning experiences, and ESL curriculum development and curating strategies, tools and techniques, and contextualizing learner engagement and need analysis, diversity and inclusion, and strong communication skills. Such a madam is with us. Ma'am, heartily welcome to this session. Please continue, ma'am.
A very good morning to all of you who have joined us today this morning. It's an extremely wonderful opportunity to share a couple of my insights on phonics. Welcome to webinar session 12. We live in a country which shares a number of languages. Every language is beautiful. It's beautiful for the sound that is unique and has its own identity. As an Indian, we are familiar with sounds, which is why when speakers of another language communicate, and more so, we are not aware of the language, we can identify if it is Hindi or Malayalam or Telugu. Much like Indian languages, English too has a set of sounds. In today's session, we will explore phonics for primary learners. The objectives for today's session are to gain a basic understanding of what is phonics and the importance of phonological awareness in primary learners. We will also reflect on how can we include phonics into different subject areas, such as including vocabulary in a science lesson or an EVS lesson. We will also touch upon a few strategies that teachers can use without investing a lot of time in your classroom instruction. So what is phonics? While preparing this session, I was mindful that this session is not exclusively for English teachers, but teachers who handle different subjects. The area of phonics is a huge area. There are wide subtopics that are included. I have tried to make bite-sized information chunks. Soon after this session, it would be beneficial if you could explore further by reading and exploring on the internet too. So let's get back to what is phonics. It is a method to teach reading and writing. When I said phonics is all about sounds, make note that spellings are very important when it comes to reading and writing. When the spelling goes wrong, the word cannot be pronounced or spoken. Supposing I'm reading out something, and if the spelling is wrong, you will be hearing a different word altogether. Next, it is the relationship between letters, that is spellings, and sound. How BOOK together forms a sound book, and that sound creates a meaning. It is sounds that could also be attributed to individual letter like B in bat, B, or a group of letters B-A-T, B, A, and T, or also syllables. What are syllables? Syllables are words or part of a word with a vowel sound. This is also a language teaching method. In primary learners exclusively, the introduction of sound can be gauged through phonological awareness. Now, before we understand what phonological awareness is, make note that there are 26 letters in English language, which is called the alphabet. A, B, C, and so on and so forth. It is interesting that these alphabet do not present the sound. Unlike Indian languages, the sound equals to the spelling itself. Here, supposing a word like G-O-O-D, good, and likewise a word like B-O-O-K, book. The use of double O and the sounds differ, although the double O is common in both the words. Likewise, food and book. The double O, E-I-O-U. Consonants are the rest of the letters excluding A, E, I, O, U. This is the phonemic chart. This chart presents all the 44 sounds in English. As teachers, we have seen the alphabet chart, no doubt. But it is very uncommon in Indian classrooms to find the phonemic chart. This chart is usually used by advanced learners because they are more aware with a number of vocabulary and word combinations. So what do we do in the primary level? It is suggested by many researchers and teachers across different countries and age groups that it is wise to introduce the sounds first before going into the symbols of a phonetic transcription. But you can make use of the phonemic chart as a teacher. You can understand the right pronunciation only through a phonetic transcription and not the spelling. For example, the word teacher. The spelling is T-E-A-C-H-E-R. But how is it pronounced? It can be pronounced only through the phonetic transcription found on the right. There is a stress symbol, which means it's T, teacher. So the stress goes before the T sound. Likewise, you can see a dot which breaks the word into two. T plus ch. T-E is a vowel sound, like A-E-I-O-U, which is why the syllable is split there. So you get so much of information in terms of one simple word as teacher. There are two syllables. The stress has to go before the t sound. So as a teacher, you will have to do a homework of finding the phonetic transcription first. Once you do find the phonetic transcription, this is the sound chart that you can use for primary learners. Notice the difference. There are pictures and letters. These letters are also divided into alphabet and consonants. This is more a child-friendly approach where they can associate the word with the picture and the sound. So with the phonetic transcription that you have, you can introduce sounds using this chart. Like simple words, that 3-letter words or 4-letter words that are included in your lesson. Teaching phonics to young learners, the ultimate goal of which is to develop the students' ability to read connected text independently. Now, this reading can happen only if they are aware of the sound. Which leads us to phonological awareness. What exactly is it? It is the ability to hear, identify, and manipulate individual sounds. Individual sounds help learners to identify spellings, which then translates into reading effectively. It is also translated into writing. Individual sounds that carry meaning are phonemes, like I said. So supposing you give two words like C-A-T, cat, and B-A-T, bat. The child should be able to understand that by replacing the C in cat by B, the entire word changes and so does the meaning. Phonological awareness is made up of a group of skills. We will look into all those skills shortly. But the most sophisticated and the latest to develop is the phonemic awareness. Phonemic awareness again goes back to the sounds of the language. Phonemic awareness helps a child to separate a word by its sound and its spelling. It also involves the ability to add a letter or a sound, like a singular form of C-A-T, you add an S, it becomes plural, cats. You could likewise subtract a letter as well. Much like cats, take out the S and it becomes a singular form, cat. Or substitute new sounds in the word. Removal of C in cat with B, bat, you form a new word. In short, phonological awareness is to understand that language can be played with multiple combinations, with spellings, and so on and so forth, such as context. So I remember I said that there are a number of skills that are included. The first one is words in a sentence. Next is syllables, onset rhyme, rhyme alliteration, and the last, phonemic. Let us look at what do they exactly mean. Phonological awareness needs to first build through words in a sentence, which is why when introducing a word, it's best that you give it in a form of a simple sentence. Most often in our lessons, we choose words from the lesson. That is a key strategy that we can use in different subjects too, and not just English language. The sentence need not be big. It has to be small and has to have a context to it. Next is syllables. Syllables provide the musical quality of a language. That's because you break the words into little chunks when you speak. Like teacher, we noted down that there are stress that is involved. Then there are syllables in between with vowel sounds. Now there are different types of syllables, like open syllable, closed syllable. So explore the types of syllables to get a clearer understanding as to how to pronounce each word. All syllables must contain a vowel or a vowel-like sound. You can use this strategy to identify syllables. Look for the vowels in a word or the sound of a vowel in the word. That way, you can break the word into different chunks. Onset rhyme. Onset rhyme is the initial phonological unit of any word, such as k in cat. And the time refers to the letters that follow. So if you give a chunk of words which onset rhyme, like cat, bat, mat, rat, have you seen children repeating these words? It indirectly also helps them to memorize the spelling. Once they achieve proficiency in the spelling, they're able to read and write better. So when you provide on exercises, catch hold of at least 3 to 4 words with pictures. That makes it a lot more meaningful while introducing new vocabulary. It is also important to note that not all words have onset rhyme. Next is rhyme alliteration. Young children first develop the awareness of phonological patterns that occur in the end. Remember the songs in our own native language? They always have a rhyme to it. Much like onset rhyme and syllables, rhyme alliteration is all about the music that language gives. Now, where do you exactly find rhyme and alliteration? You could find it in songs or poems or even nursery rhymes, which is why in primary school, it is introduced different types of songs with different beats. Musicality also helps to memorize the spelling indirectly. Next is phonemic awareness. Phonemic awareness, like we discussed, is the understanding that words are made up of phonemes or individual units of sound. For example, that I've given here is sun. Sun is made up of individual phonemes, s, a, and n. If you change one of these, notice how the meaning of the word changes. When s is replaced by r, it becomes run, a verb meaning to move quickly using one's legs. So you need to give the practice to children to create and form new words. Now, to reach this stage, you need to cover the first three stages that were discussed. That is introducing small sentences, talk about syllables, onset rhyme, rhyme alliteration. These words that are provided on the table are for the teachers to make note of. When you are dealing it in the classroom, don't confuse little ones with these terms which are otherwise called meta language. It is no use talking about rhyme alliteration and onset rhyme to young learners. But it is important as teachers to be aware of what exactly are you teaching about the word. There is another example that I've given on phonological awareness for the word log. Now, if I introduce just the word log, it is not as interesting in comparison to a sentence. Sita is cutting a log of wood. You give them a context that there is someone who's doing an action. Now, the word log has one syllable, the aw sound from the word. Next is onset rhyme, the sound l plus og, og. Now look at the syllable and the onset rhyme columns. What do I do in the class when I have this column with me? I would give them drills, make them pronounce the word log. So usually when we teach syllables in the classroom, we go with a TPR technique of clap, log, one syllable. If there are two syllables or three syllables like entertainment, entertainment, 4 syllables. There are multiple TPR techniques that you could include when you introduce syllables as well. So these exercises are only going to make improvement in their pronunciation, which will be reflected in their spelling when they write. Next is phonemic awareness. Before going to phonemics, onset rhyme. Now that I've given the word log, I could give them rhyming words like frog, dog, cog, jog. Make them note that how different it is. The meaning changes when I use different letters, which otherwise is sounds. D-O-G, dog, is an animal, but L-O-G, log, is a piece of wood. So these exercises can be made in a very fun way through puzzles and games, through flashcard activities as well. You could have a look at the TLM webinar to get some understanding of it. The next is phonemic awareness. Phonemic awareness leads to making plurals and singular form of words. This is a more advanced stage. You could include this based on the competency level of your learners. So what is the science behind dividing the whole word into different components? There are a number of principles, but the most widely used one by educators is the alphabetic principle. I have reduced it into 4 chunks that can provide the meaning of the principle. The first is teach letter-sound relationships explicitly and in isolation. Explicitly means in a more open way by disintegrating the word like D, O, G, D, or G. Or in isolation, in a nursery rhyme, for instance. Provide opportunities for children to practice letter sounds and their relationships in daily lessons. Which is why setting the context is important. Allowing them to use the language is as important as you teaching it in the classroom. Next, provide practice opportunities that include new sound letter relationships. Something as similar to what we discussed earlier in the onset rhyme, include rhyming words. Give children opportunities early and often to apply to expand knowledge of sound and letter relationships. Research has proven that young children as young as 1 to 6 belong to the sensitive periods, where they're equipped and wired to learn multiple languages at a fast pace, much faster than what you and I can do. So challenge them with different tasks and activities. Excuse me. Now comes to the interdisciplinary approach to raise phonological awareness. An English teacher can do a lot of vocabulary activities in her class because after all, she's teaching a language. What could a science teacher do or a teacher of mathematics? This is a strategy that can be applied in your classroom. First is creating a blocking vocabulary list. Choose between 2 to 3 words that depend and are relevant to the lesson and the concept. Think of the mind map, for instance. There are a few words that you would use in the mind map. So use those key words which are otherwise called as content your lesson. It can be as simple as a discussion. Now with number 2, I would like to stress that you don't have to openly give an instruction that, okay, you're going to learn about the form of this word being a plural. Ask questions accordingly. How many frogs do you see in the picture? They ultimately start counting the number of pictures because of their awareness of frogs being a plural. If they don't, that is when you talk about form telling. There are multiple frogs and not just one frog. The blocking vocabulary list. You identify 2 to 3 words or 4 words relevant to the concept, theme, tasks, and the activities that you have formed. Even if you introduce 2 words per period, considering there are 5 periods in a week, in a week's time, they have 10 new words added to their vocabulary. And in a month, 40 words are learned through your subject. You might wonder, what if there are other difficult words that are not directly related? Provide content. You don't have to include it into your blocking vocabulary list. Just provide the meaning otherwise when you're handling the lesson, that this word is used here to refer to such and such action. Now, while choosing the blocking vocabulary, the first criteria is it should be comprehensible. Vocabulary must be understandable and relevant to the context and also based on their competency level. If they are beginner level learners, it is best not to use big words which they might not use outside the classroom context. Find words that they can use in a day-to-day situation. Maybe initially they might find it difficult to pronounce the word or probably use it freely. That is fine. But if you feel it is relevant while they speak and communicate or talk about that particular topic, let's say pollution, ensure that you include that word. Next is it has to be instructive. The majority of words must be decodable based on the sound and spellings previously taught. Now, in the different subjects that we handle, it might be a challenge, which is why it is best to stick to small words. Small words, and I stress again on content words which communicate an idea or an action. Next is it has to be interesting. The context and the text must be engaging enough for students to want to revisit them again. What motivates us to use a new word? One of the key things is probably the context in which it was introduced to us. We could introduce the vocabulary through a story or a video or a flashcard or an activity. Researching of your MPF, meaning, pronunciation, or form. In your lesson plan, do make a note of the MPF. Use dictionaries such as Cambridge, Oxford, or Collins to get the right meaning. Have a thorough understanding of the word. Much like your students collecting 40 new words of the subject, you could improve your communication and the vocabulary skills of the language. Also, link these words to your lesson, which leads us to the second point. Why was this word used in the science lesson? What relevance is it? What idea is it communicating? Practice pronunciation and be aware of the right sounds. And also, most important, think of a meaningful way to plan the activity related to the concept. It could be as simple as a labeling exercise, match the following, or even a show and tell. This is an example for the word log in Cambridge Dictionary. This dictionary was accessed through my laptop. Now notice under the word log, it is mentioned that it is a noun. And within brackets, C, it's a collectible noun, which means you can tell 2 logs of wood or 3 logs of wood. Likewise, you have an icon of a speaker there. All you have to do is click on it and you will get the right pronunciation. Now, right next to the speaker, you have within slashes the phonetic transcription as well. So for teachers, it's all the more easy to collect all the for M, P, and F. And the meaning is present right there, a thick piece of tree trunk or a branch. It is also supplemented with an image. Make a note of all these areas for every word that you choose and filter out from your lesson. Most of the dictionaries would also produce the stress that is required or the syllable distinction. Choose the best that is needed. Next is the Oxford Phonics World, a tool that I often use because it is something that is dependable because it comes from an institution that is known for English language teaching materials. Now, this is a website where you have a lot of resources free of cost. And if you can notice that they're divided into different levels. You may not be able to bring it to your classrooms for various, but at least as a teacher, you can get a rough understanding of how you can plan activities. How can you plan tasks? How can you plan assessments? So go through these resources. It will definitely be helpful because it was helpful for me. Next is plan. How to promote phonological awareness through different subjects. Opportunities for exposure is a must. Children have to practice. Like I said, it is practicing the language in the classroom is as important as you teaching it. Some of the suggestions that are mentioned are create a rhyme or a song or a poem. Use a matching exercise through pictures and words. You could also use realia, matching a picture word pair to related picture word pairs like a mind map or a concept map. Worksheets and written tasks. Worksheets and written tasks also are benefited in terms of creating your handwriting a lot more legible. Next is language tasks. Ensure no matter what vocabulary you introduce through a TLM, have a language task, such as fill in the gaps, or match the following labeling exercise, or short question exercise. Notice the amount of practice opportunities through all the 5 options that are suggested. You could use any 1 or 2 depending on the time you have. Believe me, introducing 2 to 3 words should not take more than 7 to 8 minutes in your lesson. And most importantly, after you have introduced these words, they are directly useful for the lesson that you're going to handle. So don't treat them as an additional chunk. They are part of your lesson. So in your lesson, make sure that you teach the letter sound relationships explicitly and in isolation. Explicitly, maybe doing a drill, making them repeat after you, or in isolation through sentences like in rhymes and songs. Provide opportunities for children to practice letter sound relationships in daily lessons. So if you introduce 2 words on a Monday, ensure that you have an opportunity within the next few days of the week to reuse those words. Provide practice opportunities that include new sound letter relationships. And lastly, give children opportunities early and often. If you notice, all these aspects are based on the alphabetic principle. So assessing tasks. How do you know that a child has learned the word thoroughly? These are basically stages of learning the word which have been arrived at through research. The first stage is decoding. Student is able to see the letter and they say it through the sound that it represents. In simple terms, say it out loud. Blending. The student is able to combine sounds of 2 to 3 letters to form a word. Last is encoding, writing the spelling of the word. So if you have to check for all these 3 areas, it is only possible when you give an opportunity for practice. You may ask a simple question answers too, where they use the vocabulary that was introduced to them. With this, we come to the end of the session. I hope you have a few more learnings and insights on the area, but I firmly urge for you to explore further on the internet and the resources suggested in your learning material as well. If you have any questions, you could post them now for me to clarify. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, madam. Nice topic and nice presentation. Now, so many questions are waiting for you. You can stop sharing of your screen, madam. Yeah. Mr. Madhu is waiting to ask his question from Palasa. Yes, you can ask Madhu.
Good morning, ma'am, and all the participants. And it's a wonderful session, and all the time our teachers have a lot of confusion regarding introduction of phonemes and phonetics. But you made it very clear, and the concept which I like, that giving a phonemic chart is always helpful. And I felt that the way you told, like, like the words like a fat cat sat on a black man's head. So these kind of drills will really help. And now my question is, most of the teachers, they are really worried about phonetics. They look at phonetics like a big area, and they feel that it's a difficult area. So what suggestions would you like to give to our teachers and help us? And we are practicing with our 6th class students also by giving, first of all, only phonic drills rather than the reader. So I really like the way you presented, ma'am. You made it very clear and you gave a clear idea. So we will follow you. And for all our teachers, other than English teachers, especially for primary teachers, and the phonemic chart is an excellent idea which you have given. And most of the teachers are also yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Please. So now the question is, how can all the teachers use this phonemic chart in the plan? Number 2, is there any shortcut method to follow this pronunciation? These are the 2 areas we want. And especially for regarding reading, in the earlier books, we used to have like cat, mat, bat, and rat. Now it's missing. Now, is there any other alternative? Can we go directly through phonics first and then lessons, or can we integrate both the lesson and the phonemic sound? This is my question. Can we start and teach children phonics first and later on lessons? That's my question, ma'am.
Thank you so much for the questions, Madhu sir, and the feedback as well. So there are 3 very interesting questions that were raised. The first one is, what do we do first? Or is it phonetic instruction, or we go with the lesson? Ideally, when you're teaching words, it's best that you start with the phonetic lesson, because they need to know the word first in order to use it in the lesson. So in order to know the word, which is why I said supplement it with meaning. Instead of providing the word in isolation, like log, if I were to come today to your class, okay, I'm going to introduce log to you, you would take time for you to link it. To give a sentence or a short sentence or a photograph, for instance, you have a rich resource such as your face sheet in your textbooks. So you could introduce vocabulary through the face sheet. The next is the use of the chart that you had asked as to how can you use the chart. The chart, you could give drills as a language teacher. But if you also provide it on the wall, like a student in class 5 or 4, it could also be a quick reference to him or her. Make them equipped to use the chart. So when you introduce a new word, split it into sounds which are called sh in fish and sir in probably snake, as seen in this chart. So go back to the chart and point out to the sound. So that way, as they're familiar with the sounds on the chart, they'll be able to reproduce it in the new word as well. I hope I answered your question.
Yeah, thank you very much, ma'am.
Yes, thank you so much, ma'am. We got a good explanation for this. Thank you so much, and we will follow, because we are giving a lot of sentences with phonic drills. That's really helpful.
Thank you very much, Madhu Garu. And then another question, madam. Question from Ratna Prasad Ongolu. He's asking that from which primary class we need to give awareness regarding phonetics to the students, primary students.
So if I can make out, you're talking about the phonological awareness.
Yes, exactly.
So all the skills mentioned in phonological awareness have to be included at the beginning, because like I said, you have to tap into the strengths of that age group. Science tells us that the age of let's just say from birth to age 6. It is called the sensitive period. Our brains are wired to learn multiple languages. So don't feel that it will be difficult in spite of if your learners are from a rural background or an under-resourced background. That has no connection to learning a language. It is the opportunities that you as a teacher can give. So start your phonemic instruction right from the beginning. But the only thing that you have to be very mindful of is you don't have to give a detailed review of a word. Like, for instance, the phonetic transcription is not required for standard 1 learner to see, but it is more important to be familiar with the sound of the word first, which is why the phonemic chart is used. The transcription is used by the teacher to ensure that her pronunciation is perfect. So, which is why it's a lot of work that the teacher has to do. So the first thing that you asked is the age. Start young, catch them young is the phrase that they say. So you could challenge them then, and you would find a lot of positive effects in other subjects too, because you're tapping into other faculties of the brain as well, such as learning concepts faster, using them and reusing them.
Yeah, thank you very much, madam. తెలుగులో కూడా ఒక అంటుంటాం మొక్కై వంగనిది మానై వంగున అని. So early stages should be maybe very suitable for introducing anything and new language also. You have any questions, sir? Yes, I have another question, ma'am. Bhaskar Boderi. He has a doubt that vowels 20, consonant altogether total 24, but you showed that 19 plus 25, that is equal to 44. Is it correct? Please explain.
I'll have to check back on the slides, but can I have the screen sharing then?
Yes, you can share.
It's exactly 44 only.
It's exactly 44.
44 only.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am. It's clear.
He has repeatedly posting the same question for 2-3 times.
Okay. Just one moment, please. There are 44 sounds. So if you could count the numbers as you see on the screen, there are 44 different sounds. Okay. Now these sounds can be created with a combination of vowels and consonants together. So you could, like in the side, it is mentioned diphthongs and unvoiced and voiced. It depends on how it's articulated. So you could use this chart when you are creating a list of words for your children. But as you asked, the question was, is it 44? Yes, it is 44.
Thank you very much, ma'am.
Any other questions, sir?
Yeah, so many. We have time also.
Yes, which is why I ensured that I complete it faster so that we get more questions. Yes, sir.
Yes. Bashira.
There is one question.
Yes, sir. We go ahead, sir.
Ma'am, from Mudinepalli district, Kumaraswamy asks that what precautions we have to take while introducing phonetics to beginners in the primary level?
The first precaution that you can take is ensuring that you are on the right side. Get the meanings right, get the pronunciation right. It is advisable that the teacher practices much before he introduces the word in the classroom. So you have to get your MPF from the right source as suggested in the slide through a proper dictionary. The next thing is it goes back to the basics of any TLM. Whenever you're setting a task which includes a new vocabulary, double check if the meaning it corresponds with the TLM. Supposing there's a flash log, it is best that I show a log instead of a whole tree which has other words also in it, like branch and leaf and roots. It will only confuse the learner. So ensure your TLM is specific to your word. The next thing is classroom management. Again, how are you going to ensure this flashcard reaches all learners? So maybe you could divide them into small groups or whole groups. Now, whole groups would be beneficial for drills where they repeat after you. Now, small groups such as groups of 4 children together can work on one flashcard or a TLM where you give them an activity of matching and labeling and probably even writing exercise where they write the word 2 to 3 times and familiarize the spelling. So divide them accordingly based on the requirement of your task. Because if any of these 3 areas have a fault, the entire session will be a waste and your time would also be spent. So ensure there's a lot more. The threats come only when the teacher is not creating a foolproof plan. So you have to do a proper plan accordingly.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much, madam. Do you have any questions, sir? Shall I? Yes, madam. Bashira from Hempadu, Prakasham district. Please tell what are the measures to be taken to learn phonics along with English in our daily life?
I think is it just one question, sir? Can I go on to answer?
Yes, one question. Yeah, please.
Okay. So in your day-to-day life, what you could do is choose the right source through which you would find it interesting. So growing up, you would have seen your English teachers telling, read the newspaper and learn new words. As a learner, it was difficult for me to read news because honestly, I couldn't relate to the news. But what I did instead was read books. Books are time-tested ways to acquire new words. They automatically, even if you don't check the dictionary while reading, you will gain another skill called as contextual meaning. So based on the context, you'll be able to identify the meaning of the word. Other than books, it is important that you also challenge yourself to use that word in an outside context. Try making it part of your day-to-day vocabulary. If you're in search of new words, you could always choose a number of platforms in which they introduce new words through videos and other resources. But the most time-tested way is through reading, because reading offers you that material to come in contact with different vocabulary. I hope it
Thank you very
answers.
much. Yes, ma'am. Thank you very much for a nice answer.
So there is one more question, ma'am. Nageswara Garu from Rambilli. How to teach or familiarize children with the sounds of plural?
So one technique that is taught to most Cambridge teachers is giving those gestures. So you say, look at me, look at my mouth. So when you pronounce sir, so they focus immediately on your mouth. So direct that attention towards you than the resource itself. Because when you're teaching pronunciation, they need to look at you. So get your students to look at you when you pronounce. You may use your finger to point out water or cats. What's the sound that comes? So you need to divert towards your system of producing the word. So that could be a classroom management strategy to ensure that you show the difference between it. The last way that you usually do is write it on the board, but making them to listen a lot more often will be more meaningful in comparison to writing. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, madam, for patient listening and excellent answers. Really helpful. That's why it's a more interactive session, we can call it, yes. And there is a question from G.V. Mohan. The question is in Telugu. I will translate it. ఆంగ్ల భాష ఉచ్చారణలలో మాతృభాష ప్రభావాన్ని ఏ విధంగా తగ్గించవచ్చు? How can we reduce the impact of mother language on English pronunciation? Mother tongue impact.
So you usually call that as mother tongue influence. So in a general understanding today, As long as the meaning is not disrupted, it is okay to have a certain level of mother tongue influence. In fact, if you look at leaders from different countries, they will have a mother tongue influence when they speak in English language. So in the initial stages, it's best that you don't focus on 100% perfection. But having said that, like you said, mother tongue influence can also change the meaning of words, like ver can be mixed with the ver sound. So then again, you need to ensure that you have drills. Now, drills can be of 3 kinds. So what I usually do is, I start with the whole group. So use your hands to tell, now all of you repeat after me, water, so that all of them would repeat. And then I'll turn towards a group and say, 3 of you, can you repeat water? So 3 of them would repeat. And then I'll go to an individual. So supposing that child is having a lot of mother tongue influence, can you repeat water? So that child would be a lot more confident because he had participated in a whole group drill, a small group drill, and an individual. So start with the whole, a small group, and individual. So that way you can minimize mother tongue influence. I hope it answers your question.
Thank you very much. Another question. D. Jaikumar Bhimili. What is the difference between phonics and jolly phonics? And what are the tricky words used in jolly phonics?
I'm as far as I know, Jolly Phonics is a platform in which there are a lot of activities and resources planned on phonics. There are 2 different concepts on the whole. Phonics is a part of a language system which exists in different languages. All languages have a phonics system. So phonics is a system, and Jolly Phonics, I think, is a platform where there are resources and other additional materials created.
Thank you very much, madam. Somebody came online, but maybe still he is connecting his audio. Meanwhile, I would like to know one thing. There is something related to pronunciation, and there is slangs are there. Now, how can we differentiate these 2? So, slang can be removed from our language completely, its impact and all these things. In a state itself, there are different regions where different slangs will be there. In such a way, in English, any foreign language, there will be different slangs also. Otherwise, influence of mother tongue as well as its slang will also be there, no?
Yes.
How can you tell me something about this?
So from what I can make out, there are 2 areas that you have touched on. One is the slang. Now, slang is usually a set of words that are commonly used, and they aren't used in a formal context. The other area that you touched upon would be when you spoke about pronunciation. That would change, for in every language you have a different form, like which is called as dialects. Now dialects, in fact, the English that we speak received pronunciation is one dialect spoken in the UK. The entire UK also has dialects of speaking English. As long as it cause a problem with the meaning, it is fine to have a dialect. But if it comes naturally to you, it is fine. But if you're putting it out like something that is artificially sort of induced, you're making yourself sound different, then it interferes with the meaning and your free flow of communication as well. So the focus is always on communication and how effective you are. And like you said, slang, the term is anything related to a slang is not acceptable on a formal platform, and is not also encouraged to be used by teachers and the students in any classroom interaction.
Thank you very much. Ubaid Beg, now you can ask your question. Yeah, you can first, wait. Yes, once again. Yes, you just repeat your question.
Good morning, madam. My name is Ubaid Beg. I would like to ask you a question, madam. We want to learn 4,000 to 5,000 words, basic words pronunciation and how to use them in sentences like intonation, stress, and intonation and pronunciation. Could you please suggest us a YouTube channel or some books regarding this, madam?
Thank you so much for the question, sir. Your reading material have a few resources that I have suggested that teachers can access. Now, all the three resources are from renowned institutions like the Cambridge University. You have a resource from the British Council as well. So these resources have umpteen platforms through which you can practice lessons yourself. You could take activities into your classrooms as well. So make sure that you explore the reading list or additional list that I've given in the reading material for today.
Yes.
Can't hear you, sir.
Yeah, thank you very much, madam. Okay, sir. Is there any questions from your side? There is a question, ma'am, from Pavani, Nellore districts. I think Nellore or Markapuram. We are not native speakers. Our children are village background. So how primary teachers overcome this type of obstacle? Our children are providing English atmosphere in our classroom, but outside of the classroom, children are speak mother tongue. How can we overcome this problem?
So thank you for the question. The first thing is focus on the strengths, like I mentioned, on sensitive periods, because they are innately wired, they are built to learn a new language. If they aren't using it outside the classroom, it means they're not comfortable yet to use the word. So what you could do is create activities where they use it in the classroom. Even simple formative assessments in short answers or get an answer for a fill in the blanks. The more they use it, enunciate it, the comfort level to use it increases. So create opportunities in the classroom. The context of the village and rural areas, you must be mindful that it is obvious that it wouldn't come naturally, because unless the listener is using that language, will the speaker use that language? So if they're able to use a few words here and there outside, automatically they would want to use the rest of the words at least with their classmates or with you. So beginning with baby steps always is beneficial instead of expecting them to go outside and speak in English. In fact, even children living in the city wouldn't speak English continuously outside their classroom context.
Thank you very much, madam. Question from Rasekar Kosuri, textbook writer, and he is from Krishna district. How blocking vocabulary is useful at lower sections, even though they are at learning stage? Number 2, in assessment, is assessment occur in oral, written, and in both oral and written?
The first question is, how is blocking vocabulary list beneficial? In fact, it gives you a record as a teacher of the words that you are introducing. So since you have the list, the next time you choose a concept, you know that, okay, my children know these words. So as a teacher, it benefits to you because it's a record. For students, when you give them, when you focus more on select words and you give them a text, they don't get inhibited seeing a huge chunk of a paragraph with English sentences, because they're familiarized with certain words that you felt may be difficult. It also gives a teacher an edge over understanding the students and their needs better. So it works both ways. So always have a list. Could you repeat the second question, sir?
Yes. Is assessment occur in oral, written, and in both are oral and written?
It can happen both ways. So an assessment in oral could be in the classroom for a formative assessment where you listen to them. And it is a must that way, because that way you get to know if they got the right pronunciation or not. Written, definitely, when it comes to phonics, the spellings play a very important role, because unlike pronunciation where you can go amiss here and there, the spellings are the same throughout the region, and not just the region but across the world. It's the same spelling that is followed, unlike pronunciation. So yes, the answer to your question is yes. Both in both ways, the child has to be assessed.
Thank you very much, madam. Is there any questions left with anybody? Thank you very much for patient listening and answering all the questions in a very prompt and in its right way. We are very happy for the presentation, madam. And also we extend our gratitudes and thanks to Government of Andhra Pradesh for arranging such very useful webinars for Andhra Pradesh teachers. Really very helpful during this COVID-19 lockdown period. And also we are very much grateful to our beloved Commissioner of School Education, Chinnaveera Beddudu Garu, IAS officer, and also thankful to Ms. Vettiselvi, IAS officer Garu, for encouraging and planning such great webinars for the teachers as well, all the fraternity of AP and India. And we also thanks Dr. B. Pratap Reddy Garu, Director SCRT, and also for one and all, we are very much grateful to you. And we also thankful to you, madam, for today's wonderful session and very useful topic. With this, yeah, please, ma'am.
I'd like to take this opportunity to thank the government and all the stakeholders that you have mentioned for the opportunity. Thanks to the both of you, Srinivasan sir and Ismail sir as well. And most importantly, to the lovely teachers for all the active participation and motivation they have towards attending these webinars. After all, they are the strength of the state.
Absolutely, madam.
Thank you so much.
So thousands and lakhs together teachers are watching this program on Facebook as well as YouTube. First of all, మేమందరం మీకు ధన్యవాదాలు తెలియజేస్తున్నాం. థ్యాంక్ యూ వెరీ మచ్. మీరు నేర్చుకోవడం, మీరు పిల్లలకి వాటిని చెప్పడం, తద్వారా మన పౌరులు అభివృద్ధికి రావడం నిజంగా చాలా చాలా సంతోషం. అలాగే we also thank Madhubabu and Beg coming online. And also offline lo kuda so many people are asking their questions, so those who are making this session more interactive, we also thankful to them. Before going to conclude this session, I want to put few requests to the viewers again. In spite of repeated requests, many teachers are still they are posting messages, good morning, good afternoon, hi, hello messages. వాటితో పాటుగా మీ ఊరు, మీ పేరు, మీ స్కూల్ పేర్లు మీరు పోస్ట్ చేస్తున్నారు కామెంట్ సెషన్లో. ప్లీజ్ దయచేసి కామెంట్ సెషన్లో అవి దయచేసి పోస్ట్ చేయొద్దండి. మంచి క్వశ్చన్స్ నేను పిక్ చేసుకోవడానికి ఇబ్బంది అవుతుంది. సో అలాగే ఇఫ్ ఎనీ టెక్నికల్ ప్రాబ్లమ్ అరైజెస్, వీ హ్యావ్ అవర్ టీమ్ టు మానిటర్, వీఆర్ హ్యావింగ్ అవర్ ఫీడ్బ్యాక్ మెకానిజం. సో మేము చెక్ చేసుకుంటాం, మేము విల్ ఫైండ్ అవుట్. థ్యాంక్ యూ వెరీ మచ్. మీ యాక్టివ్గా మీరు పోస్ట్ చేస్తున్నారు. సో థ్యాంక్ యూ వెరీ మచ్. బట్ అది ఓవర్బర్డన్ చేస్తుంది కాబట్టి టెక్నికల్ ఇష్యూస్ వచ్చినా, అలాగే గుడ్ మార్నింగ్ గుడ్ ఆఫ్టర్నూన్లు కానీ ఇలాంటివి దయచేసి పోస్ట్ చేయొద్దని మళ్ళీ ఒకసారి రిక్వెస్ట్ చేస్తూ ఈ ప్రోగ్రామ్ని ఇంతటితో ముగించబోతున్నాం. మీ అందరికీ ధన్యవాదాలు తెలియజేస్తూ రేపటికి మళ్ళీ మీ ముందు మంచి టాపిక్తో ముందుంటాం. మళ్ళీ మనకు డాక్టర్ పూర్ణిమ, వీ హ్యావ్ అనదర్ సెషన్ టుమారో with Dr. Poornima Ravi Garu on ICT in the primary learner. We are also waiting for the topic, madam, because we are much connected with ICT. Thank you very much, sir. Yeah.